I need to take back my freedom when it comes to software. I need to completely break away from the Red Hat cult. And by the Red Hat cult, I mean SystemD, Wayland, GNOME. And yes, I mean that with as much disrespect as I could possibly muster. I really do, because right now, the dishonesty flying around is so apparent. If you're new here, welcome to the Kernel of Truth podcast, where I am going to talk about some things that might not be very comfortable when it comes to Linux and open source. And believe me, I'm not a Richard Stallman purist by any stretch, but I'm certainly not on the Wayland cult either. And so this is my first episode of this podcast, so enjoy. The one that I think before we get started, this is where it all started. This is what really started opening my eyes to something I would call corporate capture, right? Where all of the large corporations, whether you're talking Red Hat Linux or Microsoft, they were capturing the whole Linux project. And they got their tentacles all over it. And it's funny because Linus Torvalds thinks that he has some control over something, and he doesn't realize that he's already lost the whole gamut. He really has. He's completely lost, and he doesn't even realize it. And I don't care whether or not he realizes it. I enjoy using Linux more than I enjoy using Windows. I enjoy using Linux more than I enjoy using Mac OS. I enjoy using Linux more than I enjoy using BSD or any other system out there today. I enjoy Linux. And so, as a user, as an end user, and a software engineer, it's incumbent upon me to do what I can. Not just call it out. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Straight up. You're going to see what I have in mind, and I'm asking everybody who's like-minded to join in on my vision. Okay, so this all started a few months ago when a developer was basically creating bug fixes for the Xorg window compositor. And they're all being rejected, like 700 of them. There were over 1,200 pull requests that were just rejected. And not because the code was bad, not because it didn't work. None of that was true. It was simply because this Wayland cult, which are just a bunch of corporate devs at this point who work for big corporations and big money, they want to get rid of Xorg. And there's a lot of reasons why they want to get rid of Xorg, but I'll tell you what, if you follow the money, you'll find that it's more nefarious than you think. I'm not going to talk too much about that. But when he decided to fork the Xorg project and call it Ex Libre, he was persona non grata. But I got a message to those Wayland devs. I got a message to those Red Hat devs. How about putting a little fucking respect on the backs of those people who brought you Xorg in the first place? Do you even know what they went through to do that? It used to be proprietary. Then they made it free and open source. And then they, pushed back when someone else tried to violate that license. And it just goes on and on. And the fact is really smart people put together Xorg, and it's brilliantly designed. And I will tell you this, that when you have a good piece of software that's brilliantly designed, it will stand the test of time. And I tell you this, I will take Xorg over whatever those pud whackers ever thought about developing. Yeah. Tell them what I really think, right? That's true. And this is why I hate the Red Hat developers. I hate them all. There are a lot of technologies that I like from them, like Ansible, Docker, Podman. I love those technologies. But at what price? At what price am I supposed to use these technologies? At the price of corporate capture? At the price of, hey, you have to do it this way or else? Hey, only these desktops are going to support this thing right here because we don't like Xorg? Yeah, I don't think so. The whole thing is so asinine crazy. And then you have a lot of other groups out there who are not part of the cult, but they're a part of their own little cult. Like, for example, you got the Ubuntu cult who thinks that snaps is a good idea. I don't respect developers that way. You know who I do respect? I respect Linus Torvalds enough to fight for what he's creating for, even if he doesn't see that it's a kind of a lost cause. So how can we fight it back against the Red Hat cult? There's only a few things that I can see that would actually work. I mean, if it was just the old school way, I think I would just drag him out back somewhere behind a building and just beat the shit out of them. But in today's day and age, you just can't do that. And I would put money that I'd whoop any one of them. So there's that. Uh, maybe not. Maybe we shouldn't be violent, right? So that's out. Okay. So on a more serious note, though, I think you should create distros and tech with only X11 support and just make it better than Wayland. Is it possible? Yeah, I think it is. Or if you have to use Wayland, just use certain components of Wayland to work with it. That's a possibility. That way you're not throwing away what works. I think that is a really good way forward. I think you should fund those who are fighting for X11. Unfortunately, I don't think Richard Stallman needs to apply here. I'll explain that later. Uh, let the community know that you don't support not having X11 based apps. Let the community know that you don't agree with the dishonesty regarding X Libre. When they tried to make that big switch to Wayland, we need to push back. And I have the perfect way to push back. All right, so I have an idea, and I really want to try this out, but I'm thinking about having some sort of an immutable Linux distro based on Debian. And why Debian, you might be asking? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, it's very easy to change init system. So now we wouldn't be using SystemD. We could create something else, or use right now. I'm thinking S6. But as far as the technology is concerned, I'm taking a chapter out of the old BSD concepts of how they used to handle immutability. And basically what you can do is you can basically have a writable root file, and then everything in the store which is all your stored packages, you would have it be read-only. But everything in etc, for example, plain files will be editable, log, state, all that, you'll still have. I mean, pretty much everything is going to be the exact same. And then you would just use symlinks, and using symlinks would allow you to be able to fully control this and have an immutable like system and still have it be read and write in your etc directory. And this is what I would want, because sometimes I need to edit etc. And so I've been using Silverblue or Aurora DX for a while now, for over a year, and I think this is the way forward. And so I think again you can basically install S6. I'm going to choose Lamine for the bootloader, extension 4 for the file system. I mean, this thing is as cool, old school as you could possibly make it. Then just basically build these tools right here, which is basically a bash script or something, a series of bash scripts, I should say, that basically make all of this work, and you basically put it all together. I'm thinking Deb Bootstrap or something like that, or a live build for ISOs, maybe. Not sure yet. And anyway, today I went ahead and I installed a minimal installation of Debian, and I installed Geeks Package Manager over it. It was actually very easy, and you'll be able to install multiple ISO variants. So like I'll have different, I'll have different ISOs that you could download, multiple kernel support, hardware support. And about Wayland, I'm not going to be one of those that is not cognizant of the fact that people do use Wayland. I'm not going to prohibit it. You'll be able to install it. And not only that, I'll probably have installation scripts so you can check out certain Wayland desktops and have it be able to be to mix. And so the only thing that I'm really pushing back on is I want you to be able to have the freedom to do what you want with your computer. That's all I want. This is going to be really different from like NixOS or Silverblue or Universal Blue. Even traditional Debians can be immutable. One thing I'm considering is like Bedrock integration and maybe even a little bit of garbage collection. I think within the next few weeks, I think a lot of this will be already done. And then I will just put it to a Calamares installer, and this should be something that I can call an immutable distro. And then I can work on, updating some packages. One of the other ideas that I have alongside this is basically making some of the packages that are installed in apt have some derivations as well, where they're identified by their hash, so that you wouldn't install two of the same package, exact same package, at any one time, and you wouldn't have anything that was conflicting with one another. Kind of like the NixOS or the Geeks package manager. And I think if I did a lot of these things, I think it's going to work out pretty brilliantly. I think right now it can't be overstated that I don't hate Wayland. I get the idea, I get the concept of why it's needed. Basically, Xorg is like a junk drawer for your peripheral devices, or that's what it's become. And I think that we need to do some serious house cleaning in Xorg. I would be totally in agreement with that. So I don't hate Wayland or SystemD or anything else. But I do think we need to go back to the Unix way of doing things where we create tools that do one thing and do it very well. And, that way you can put those things together to create some really cool technologies and some really cool functions and things like that. Yeah, I think that SystemD flies in the face of that. I think Wayland flies in the face of that. And I think this insistence on the use of the GNOME desktop flies in the face of it. And so I don't want to support it anymore. I don't want to support those projects at all. Now, I want to say that just because I don't hate those projects directly, I do hate the corporate capture behind them. I just do. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's going to ruin what we love about Linux. I swear that even if you have less users, I don't know if that's a bad thing. As long as the people who are using it like to use it more. I really don't enjoy using Wayland that much. Though I'd be honest, I've used Wayland for the last 2 years. I haven't had any major problems. I can still use it. But I don't like the civil war that's going on. I don't enjoy everyone fighting all the time when before it was like, oh, you use open source? How cool. Jeez, man. And then I'm going to be really honest. I don't think that Linus Torvalds can see the forest for the trees. I just don't. I don't think he understands. I don't think he understands that not only are there strings attached to all the money he's getting from Microsoft and IBM and everyone else, the money is one thing. What he's not seeing is eventually they're going to say, we own that operating system. They're going to take it over. And that's what I think. Now, maybe he thinks that, they're contributing out of the goodness of their hearts or something. He knows that's not true. I don't know what he's thinking, but he's already lost. I just want to end this with one simple fact. If you think that maybe Richard Stallman, we should go that direction, right? Be as extremist as humanly possible. Look, I think people want their devices to work natively, right? I think they want to have support for all of their devices on their computer, right? And some of those things are going to be proprietary, unfortunately. There's no perfect fix for that. I don't think that the hardware companies are going to care about open source software just because you wish it so. I don't think so. I think people like to game but I also think that people like Linux more than Windows or Mac. And so when you put this all together, you have a real interesting Motloff cocktail where you have to give a little bit. You have to have some sort of considerations for other people. And I really want to be that person. But I also I want to respect those who came before me. I don't think the Red Hat devs care. I don't think that the Red Hat devs respect those who came before them. I don't think so. I'm sorry. They just don't. So if you want to see my latest video on what was I talking about? Oh yeah, it was the Lunduke interview by side something. Anyway, check that video out. It was pretty funny. I liked it. I enjoyed it. You know it's going to be a riot when they start out with saying, "I want to talk about the gay shit on Linux with you." And as always, I just want to thank these people right here